Folks, welcome back. In this video, we're going to be drawing the Predator from start to finish. And when I say we, I mean me. This is just a recording that I did last night of drawing the Predator. It was fresh in my brain, having recently read the new Marvel comic. Wanted to go ahead and give it a whirl. I remember seeing the Predator in the theaters back when it first came out. I have not seen any of the subsequent Predator films, for better or for worse, but I really did enjoy the first Predator film, and it left a really impressionable mark on me. And speaking of an impressionable mark, the subject that I want to talk today with you about is the importance of finding a good mentor. Mentor is someone who has been down the same artistic journey or path that you are now embarking on. And as a teacher, this is something that I always encourage my students to seek out. Find those folks that are willing to spend the time to help you get better at your craft. People that you respect, people that have the experience, and people that are willing to take the time. Not everybody can be a good mentor. They're usually really hard to find. And when you do find a good mentor, I think it will not only help you improve your artistic skills, but it will also give you some insight into your profession, how to charge, how to manage the business side of things, etc. Now, where do you find a mentor? Well, it could be someone who you've had a class with. Maybe it's like a professor. Maybe it's an industry professional. Maybe it's a relative that is in the same profession that you're aspiring to. It could come from any number of sources. You want to just be open-minded to see what is out there. And mentor may not necessarily be, a regular fixture in your life. They just might be someone that you reach out to from time to time to check in. And I will say that something about being a mentor is that, you want to understand that it is generally a free act on the part of the mentor to give you some time. So take that in the spirit that it's given in. You want to make sure that you are not wasting their time, that you actually listen to their feedback, that you keep in touch when they ask you to do something, that you do it, you show them your results. And I think you'll find that you'll develop a much stronger connection with your mentor. And they might ask you to help out with certain things, and it's kind of like a bartering thing where they help you out by looking at your work and giving you pointers and feedback, and you might be able to help them in another capacity. So that is something that I think is just the right thing to do if someone is giving you their time and their experience. That you find a way to give something back to that person. And they might not want anything in return, and that's totally okay. But, it is time, and time is a precious commodity. And the fact that someone is taking the time to mentor you, I think, is a really, really awesome thing. Now, in terms of me, I don't have any regular mentors, and it's one of my biggest regrets. But I do remember the people along the way that gave me encouragement. And one particular incident I remember was when I was 19 years old. I went to a comic book convention in Atlanta called Dragon Con, and I met Dave Sim. He is an independent cartoonist, one of the first independent cartoonists that published his own comics, and his claim to fame is Cerebus the Aardvark. I was a huge fan of his work. I met him at his table. I brought samples in from comic strips that I'd worked on for my school newspaper. I was really wet behind the ears. In other words, I didn't really have much experience. I just loved to draw, wanted to be in comics. And I just politely asked if he would take the time to look at my work. And you know what? Instead of just blowing me off or just telling me what I wanted to hear, he said, "Hey, look, I'm going on break. Why don't you come with me and I'll take a look at your work?" And I remember being really blown away by the fact that he took time out of his convention schedule just to spend maybe 5-6 minutes with me. So we walked outside he was having a cigarette and was just looking through my samples. And, they weren't great, but I think that he really did the right thing by just encouraging me and giving me some pointers. He wasn't dismissive. He wasn't just trying to tear me a new one. He was just saying, hey, you could work on your anatomy here, or you could, tweak the placement of your word balloons. At that time, I was hand lettering. I didn't use any computers. It was all pen and ink. But I just, I don't remember exactly what he said, but I remember how I felt after that experience. I was just blown away by the fact that this professional took time out of their schedule to give me some advice. And it was very, very encouraging advice. And I think it made a huge difference in me continuing to move along. I think we've all heard stories of people who you look up to, and when you actually meet your heroes, you get a completely different reaction. Maybe they're mean, maybe they're dismissive, maybe they're just shooting your work down and just destroying it. I think that really leaves a very negative taste in one's mouth, and it could completely dissuade someone from continuing to do work. Just imagine the power of your words can encourage somebody to make them great, or it could prevent them from even taking the next step and leaving their potential behind. And I think that's really sad when I see people doing that. You should always try to encourage folks, but at the same point in time, you want a good mentor will provide you with honest feedback. They'll tell you what's working and they'll tell you what's not working. And I think it's important, if you have a mentor, to listen to what they're saying and to take their advice seriously and act on their advice. You're coming to them for their experience and their knowledge, and a good mentor, wants to help you out. It's just like any type of coaching situation. If you've ever played a sport, you've probably had a coach. And in many of those cases, a coach will tell you what you're doing right, but a good coach will also tell you where you need to work on so you can be a better player. It's the same type of relationship, I feel, when you have a mentor that you can trust. And again, a good mentor is not easy to find, but maybe people along your artistic path might be mentors for a given time and space. You might have people coming into your life that can give you some advice, and maybe you move on and you find another mentor. It's not uncommon to have multiple mentors. If you do, you're a very lucky person. I think it's really a rare thing to have many people that you can seek advice from, especially when you are new or you're not established and you're not, a professional. I think as people start to become professional, they have connections within the industry, and their peers almost serve as mentors, and they're able to look over each other's shoulder and provide each other with encouragement and feedback, and they just are, that healthy competition. I remember one particular incident that happened to me when I was actually at a convention many years ago, where I was asked to provide some feedback. This young man came up to my table and basically asked me if I could look at his work. And, he showed me his work. He didn't really engage with me, didn't really ask me who I was, didn't even look at my work. Felt a little bit annoyed by that. It's like, he just was like, hey, can you give me some feedback on my work? And I'm like, okay, fine. I did. And, I was being honest. And I don't think this is what the person wanted to hear. I wasn't, shooting him down, but it was just kind of like a lot of constructive feedback. And I don't think he was in a mindset to really hear what I had to say. I think he was looking for validation as opposed to listening to get better. And that's something that I've noticed with some art students. They want validation and they don't want to hear what they need to fix. And I think that's a really difficult path to walk on, because in a commercial art field, you will always be given feedback by somebody. And I've certainly received feedback from others. Do I always agree with it? No. But most of the time, I'd say about a good 95% of the time, the feedback is right on the money. So, it's important that we listen to that feedback and act upon it and just be humble. and understand that, if multiple people are saying the same thing about your work, there's probably some truth to it. And I would also say, on the flip side of having a mentor, it's okay to talk to other people and get advice and feedback on your work. What you're listening for are trends. If everyone is saying the same basic thing to you, then there's definitely some truth to that. But if you have someone who just says, I don't like the color purple, that's not really meaningful feedback because it's an opinion. So you have to be able to separate opinion from actionable feedback. So as I wind up this predator sketch, I hope you found some value in this discussion. Let me know if this is something that you enjoy. I really don't know how these particular monologues are being received, but let me know in the comments below. And if you are new to the channel, welcome to the channel. I hope you consider subscribing to it, and I hope that you have an opportunity to interact. I have set up a second channel called Krishna Draws 2, which I'll put a link to in the descriptions, that focuses on digital drawing basics. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.